Hello and Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Muhammad Ali Hamza. The purpose of this series is to share with you an understanding of business research methods. In the first lecture, I introduced you to business research method definition, and we tried to realize that how much is it important to understand the research process that can help an organization to solve its problems. We also discussed the definition of a problem. I'm sure you remember that. If you don't, please go through the lecture again. Today, we'll be talking about TSP. TSP stands for 10-step process for any business research management project. But before going to that, I want to make one thing very clear between us. There is a difference between academic research and a business research. What's the difference? Right. The difference could be that an academic research is primarily focused on curiosity. Yes, a researcher tries to figure out why such things happen. But in the business research methodology, when we talk about research specifically for the business, it means we are primarily talking about finding a problem in an organization and try to go through an investigative process to get to the solution to that problem. A solution that turns out to be the best one after the entire scientific process. Yes, research, whether it's academic or for the business world, is a scientific investigation process. So there are certain rules, there are certain regulations, there are certain logical explanations of every act one performs during any research process. But remember, this course is not primarily designed for MPhil or PhD students, but for the students of BBA, MBA or MBA executive, the students who are going to finish their degree or who are doing a job with their degree and they can help their organization through their expertise in a research process. One more thing, when you do a research for an academic purposes, you become a researcher. Or academic researcher probably, or a scholar. But when you do the same sort of research for business things, you become a consultant. Yeah, there is a difference of terms, but in fact you become research consultants instead of research scholars. Yeah, you can be a scholar and a consultant both together, but this course is to make you research consultant. And when we talk about giving a research consultancy to an organization, you got to remember it has to be problem oriented and it has to be solution oriented too. Anyways, in this lecture we are going to talk about 10-step process, that is TSP. The purpose of this course is to make you capable either to perform research consultancy for an organization or offer them your services. Let's get back to TSP, that is 10-step process. Any business research process is having three broad areas. The area number one is the orientation phase. It's the phase in which you understand the organization, you understand the sector in which an organization works, you try to understand the current problems in the sector, or you try to identify the problems within the organization. And then in the orientation phase, you get into the discussion with the organizational hierarchy or management, and you try to figure it out, what's the problem? A problem that a manager tells you is a problem, or it might be not a problem but a symptom. So this all what we do in the orientation phase. This orientation phase ends when you get into a contract with an organization, when you do the preliminary literature review or a preliminary study of the organization, you do understand the sector, you understand the current problems, you get into discussion with the management, with the hierarchy, and then you figure out what's the actual problem. And once you figure out what's the actual problem, you offer the other party, that is an organization, that how long would you take, how much would you charge for it, and what does it include in the contract. And once both the parties, you as a consultant and the organization agrees on something, you sign, and there the orientation phase ends. And then you get to the next step, and that is in-depth research. Here comes the entire academic research process in which you have to go scientifically. I mean, your investigation has to be rational and scientifically concrete. Otherwise, organization is not going to accept it. Why? Because you won't be having any proof. So you've got to prove the organization that the solution I'm giving to you and the recommendations I'm offering you are based on a scientific investigation. And in this phase, there is an in-depth research. And this is the area, or this is the phase where we will learn, or we will talk about the detailed research things, that how to write a literature, how to define a methodology, how to sample, what should be the population, who should be the unit of analysis, and what would be the time horizon. And there are multiple things about it that we'll talk about in the later lectures. But this is the phase in which we go into in-depth research, mean we opt the scientific investigation process, and we reach to some analysis and results after doing all the stuff. Then comes the last stage. And the last stage is the implementation stage. Mean you offer them the recommendations, and then the organization implements, and there is a review of your solutions. You got to implement, and you got to make it sure that your solution gives a problem an end. Mean it benefits the organization. So there are three broad categories: the orientation phase, there is the in-depth research phase, and there is an implementation phase. And each phase has a couple of more stages. In total, if you count them, that is 10. So it is called TSP. So this model is called 10-step process for any business research. So this TSP, 10-step process, is actually a process to complete any business research project. That's all for today. I will inbox the review question, assignment, cases, and quiz along with some other reading material. If you are not my direct student and you're interested to receive this material, please write your email down in the comment box and you will receive it promptly. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Stay safe, stay learning.